What's up, Druid? So let's check out in Season 5 what are the brand new uniques and the updates to the uniques to make them completely new and different. So for starters, let's go over the brand new uniques and check out the newer changes. So starting right off, we're just going to be looking at the right side as those are the new updates. So starting off, we have the Bjornfang's Tusks. These are a pair of gloves that got converted into a ring. So it's no longer going to be a glove, it's a ring. And instead, it's going to give us all res, shadow res. It's going to give us points into Endless Tempest. And then it's also going to give us willpower, critical strike chance, and movement speed while Cataclysm is active. Now, the power with this is actually really good. It's while Cataclysm is active, you gain unlimited spirit and deal a huge amount of damage. We're talking up to 100x increased damage, which is a crazy amount for a ring. So it's definitely going to be best in slot for anyone that is trying to make some sort of Cataclysm build or even non-Cataclysm build, because it's just you deal 100x damage. Now, I did try to play this. It is very, very difficult to keep up. And the reason why it's very difficult to keep up, if you're thinking, oh, I'll just run Flicker Step. The problem is at some point, Cataclysm will actually become good, and once Cataclysm becomes good, it just deletes everything before you get to actually use Flicker Step. Now, you can use another unique ring to pull in enemies, but again, the problem is Cataclysm is just going to activate and just start tagging everything. So it's really hard to kind of get that Flicker Step in action, so you're going to have to get a lot of cooldown to really make this feel good. But it is something that if you do want to play, it is really, really good potentially. And that is because, well, 100x damage is pretty good. Now, the other newer item is called the Basilisk. So it got an update to make it so it does a lot more damage to crowd control. So it's going to facilitate for, what is it, like Earth and Devastation, I believe it is. As well as like there's like a lightning node that you can get on the legendary, which will help out once you get like damage to close and distance. So it's going to be easy to hit like that specific earth node, and you're going to be able to get earth attack speed, which is good, crit strike damage, physical damage, and then you have critical strike chance against stunned enemies. That's a huge amount of crit. Now, this is the special power. When you first hit an enemy with an Earth skill, it says petrify them for 3 seconds. Petrifying an enemy additionally deals some set amount of damage. So the problem with this skill is I was thinking that it was going to be like the petrify, like the ultimate. So every single time I hit an enemy, I'm getting this ultimate. It's not exactly how it works. It says petrifying an enemy additionally deals that set amount of damage. So it's going to be really hard to get up. I don't know if they're going to like fix kind of how it works and make it actually work just like an ultimate every single time you attack. If they did, it'd probably be a little bit too OP. This might be an item that it surprises everyone and it actually becomes good. But as far as I can tell, I haven't seen a Basilisk build that was actually good. Like I said, during the PTR I tested out, did not see any fantastic results from it. So it turns out Bjornfang's new ring is called the Molnik ring. This has actually got some potential, but it's going to be really hard to build. So let's go ahead and kick it off with the brand newer updates now to the Druid items. Starting off with one of my favorites, which is going to be the new Shred unique called the Waxing Gibbous. We get a newer addition of crit strike damage, massive amounts over here. We're talking 200 right there. And we have Bloodhowl grants stealth for up to 3 seconds. You get that greater affix, so 4.5 seconds of like maybe stealth here. But it doesn't really matter how long the duration is because you're just going to break stealth with Shred anyways. And you're getting Shred, Toxic Claws, and then when you kill an enemy with Shred, you get that stealth, which is old. But when you have that breaking stealth with an attack, grants guaranteed critical strikes for a set duration, that got a nice little buffs. So if you have this roll perfect, you have 4 seconds of guaranteed crits whenever you use Bloodhowl. You're going to be able to upkeep it. Now, it's almost backwards the way this is designed because Bloodhowl gets cooldown when you actually kill a target. The way that this item sucks is because when you're at a boss, you can't consistently do your Bloodhowl because you're not killing enemies, because Shred obviously needs to be able to teleport and get the kills to get good value and speed with it. So unless you happen to be fighting a boss where you get to reset some of these things, it's going to be quite difficult to upkeep it on a longer boss fight unless you can kill the boss in 4 seconds. It doesn't have as much value as you would want, but for open world content, yeah, you can easily have 100% crit, but you're still going to have to kind of get crit because, again, you'd only have 4 seconds unless you can somehow figure out how to get the cooldown of Bloodhowl to be reduced without killing enemies, which is how it's designed. It gets cooldown reduction when you kill. So you can get insane amounts of cooldown reduction and then try and go for it, because it does last for 4 seconds here. Next up, though, we have the Flesh Render. So what this does is gives you a good amount of damage to poison enemies now. It's got willpower, cooldown reduction, defensive skills, and then casting a defensive skill is going to make it so you deal a set amount of damage, and it's increased by 15x for every 100 willpower you have. This is basically the same. They just moved it around, gave you an extra defensive skill, gave you cooldown reduction, so if you need it, you can maybe mess around with that. Then the Great Staff of the Crone. I've always thought this item was really interesting because you can get like a bunch of points into Claw, right? And then you have like a good amount of critical strike damage, and now that damage to close can facilitate the lightning one, because it's like damage to distance or close will give you a multiplier. Unfortunately, because that thing has a cap of like, I don't know, like 40x or something like that, it really loses out on a lot of value, because now you can just cap out with just this alone, right? And then you also have Storm Strike changed to +2 targets, which is really cool. So now Claw is a storm skill, and then you get to get another 50x damage. You lose out on the ranks to Claw, but, well, you do get plus up to 4 to the basic skills. And remember, you can scale basic skills a lot better in Season 5 with a lot of newer like toys. So this thing could be something to look at. I haven't seen any build from Season 5's PTR that really utilizes and made it super OP. Next up, we got the Dolman Stone. They are actually doubling up pretty much the damage of Boulder, and they said that they fixed the bug. They've kind of said that they fixed it multiple times at this point. Now you're getting Wrath skills, which is great. You get some to Crushing Earth. It's really this Boulder interaction that kind of was bad for a while. So Suppressor, Waller, Wind Shear, or was it Wind Wall? Those things just messed up Boulder, and hopefully now Boulder is just immune to everything. Again, they have said that they fixed it a couple times, and it still doesn't function properly. And the main problem that you also have, there's an awesome other content creator by the name of Ace, really good Druid player. The main problem, if you watch like one of his videos that talks about this, is because it doesn't have a good hitbox. The hitbox is just really hard to get, because it's like you can't be too close, but you can't be too far. You have to be in this like this golden perfect area for the boulder to register. And I think that they should just increase the size of the boulder to make it really beginner friendly to actually play, because again, it kind of makes it so like you get close to the enemy, oh wait, I'm too close, okay, now the enemy's attacking me, oh, so obviously I'm too close now, I gotta move backwards, and it just kind of ruins how smooth the build should be playing, because at the end of the day, the way it's designed is kind of like a awkward whirlwind build, where you have these things that will spin around, and then you're trying to move, but then you have to like position yourself perfectly, where if you wanted that playstyle, you could just play Whirlwind and just have these tornadoes shoot out, and you have like a much better, smoother experience. And on top of that, Whirlwind doesn't get ruined by, you know, all these like little things like the walls and suppressor with a little dome shield. So hopefully all that's being fixed, and at that point we can maybe look at maybe an A or a B tier build. I still think probably Landslide is going to be the top tier Druid build for the upcoming season. Pulverize is still pretty good too, but they said that there was some update with it, but the update, I think, was before they actually updated it in Season 4, when they updated the damage to Pulverize as well. But as far as that goes, that's where I would put it. As far as Wild Hunger, they basically doubled up on the damage, so we're going to get Heightened Senses now, and the rest of the stuff is pretty much like whatever. It's like getting Cold Res. You get some attack speed, which is nice, so it's a little bit of a buff there. But the special ability with Wild Hunger, when you shapeshift into a different form, you gain some sort of new buff called Wild Heart, and it basically got doubled. So it used to give you 1.5 to stack up to 20 times, which would be 30x damage, and now it can go up to 3%, which basically means you get double the stats of it. So you can get up to 30x damage on boots, and so that is a nice little buff for those of you guys that already were using this, and it was a pretty good item already. It's just going to require you to basically piano your keyboard, rapidly hitting to transform, untransform, and stuff like that to get max value out of this. Then we have Mad Wolf's Glee, which is a nice little item that already saw some play. It's going to be better with Shred now, because you have increased maximum life over here. You also have Werewolf attack speed, which is going to make it even more offensive. Then you have Lupine Ferocity's damage and the Digitate Gate, which is basically your mobility that you get when you are in Werewolf and for like 3 seconds after. And then the Werewolf form is now the true form, and you gain set amount of ranks to the werewolf skills. Now it used to be +3, now it rolls from 2 to 5, so it is going to be overall better if you happen to have a higher rolled one. So I could see people are definitely using this. Again, with Shred, this could be something really fun to play around with. And then we have Insatiable Fury, which is going to be utilized for the Bear Druid. This is getting a buff over similar to the other one, where instead of +3 ranks to Bear, you're getting 2 to 5. So I like this. You also get Iron Fur, Ursine Strength, some more overpower damage, and more maximum life. We do lose out on one thing that was really good. You used to be able to get this crazy amount of armor with this. You would get this and you were just done with armor. If you get this to be greater affix like I had, man, you were just done. You get this. No more armor rolls need to be necessary. But you also get a lot more armor, especially if you're playing like the Werebear Landslide Druid, which we'll get into when we check out the other buffs here. Then we have the Unsung Aesthetics. These are the wraps. These are the gloves that are for the Lightning Storm. That's the one where you hold still. I already felt like this skill was actually pretty good. Now we're getting a good amount of buffs here. A little bit more crit. We get damage to distance so you can facilitate the buff. We also get plus ranks to Lightning Storm over here. That got a buff from 2 to 3 to 4 to 6. And then we have plus to Defiance. And then we got a double stat on the unique power where the critical strike cause lightning strike to strike twice, and they deal up to 40x damage versus up to 20x. So this could be something to look at. It's a build where I want to say channel builds in general in Diablo 4 are just really not popular, and they keep on trying to buff them, but I think the core thing comes down to, unless it is Whirlwind, people just generally don't like channeled skills in any action RPG. It's the same thing with Path of Exile. People don't like to hold still unless it's like, you know, Cyclone or something like that. So maybe they can look at maybe after you use this skill, you get to move a lot faster for like 5 seconds or something, depending on the charging amount that you have, just to make it so it feels a little bit less bad to, you know, hold still. Next up, we have Tempest Roar. So Tempest Roar is probably one of the most popular Druid uniques in the game since like the launch, and so it is getting some nice little buffs here, but it's not going to be like game breaking. So we have Wild Impulses now. We're getting some lightning resistance versus poison res, and then we have some maximum resource. We also get willpower here. So overall, it's going to be better, but the special unique power went from 25 to 35% chance to gain that additional spirit when you are in using a storm skill. And then we also have Vasili's Prayer, which I believe was still seeing some play with the landslide variant of the Werebear Druid, just because the Werebear gives you just a lot more damage with the key passive. So we have some willpower. That's kind of nice. We also still have maximum life. It also gives us armor and defensive posture. And then we're able to actually fortify for 8%. And fortification is also directly tied to your bonuses with the amount of damage that you deal when you overpower. So it kind of actually gives you more offensive stats as well, because before it would give you a flat amount. Obviously, this value is not always going to be 28. It depends on who's looking at the item, but a flat out 5% is going to be pretty good, considering so many of the landslides are going to activate so many ding times. It's basically infinite fortification at this point. And then we have Storm's Companion. Now, I actually do have the Companion Druid ready to go. It is a very active playstyle. In case any of you guys wanted a chill pet build, this is not it. It's a very, very active playstyle. You got to be spamming on your buttons here. So you get Wolves attack speed, which is great, and then you also get a lucky hit chance for the pack leader spirit boon. You get damage reduction from close enemies, and then you also get up to 5 ranks to wolves. So it's pretty much looking like kind of the same damage. It's just you get a little bit more attack speed, which is good, but the thing that actually deals the damage in this build is not just the wolves auto attacking. It's going to be when you actually push the button. It actually does a pretty good amount of damage. It's a cool build. It's very, very niche. I'm going to admit it's not going to be like oh, everyone's going to be playing this new build sort of a thing. Hunter Zenith over here, we get Predatory Instincts instead of the other ranks of Quick Shift that actually got nerfed. We get some extra willpower. Overall, it's probably going to be a little bit better. I don't know if they're changing the numbers here, but losing out on the critical strike chance is very unfortunate, but again, you do get Predatory Instinct instead. I mean, the small additive damage, whatever, it doesn't really matter too much, so there's a small little like change with this. Then we have the unique from the Malignant season. So we have willpower, lucky hit chance. We also got damage to close, which got a huge increase. And we got ultimate cooldown, which basically got doubled. And then this allows you to pull in the enemies. This is one area where I was trying to run this with the Cataclysm variant to pull in the enemies so they wouldn't die. Again, it's a really hard build to play because at some point your damage becomes good, so therefore you're unable to get that flicker step activation to get the cooldown reduction that you need. But then it's a very hard balance because you also need to do enough damage with it to make it actually feel good. So I want to say this is going to be very difficult to play, but if you want to try it, go for it. And then on top of that, you get more damage per percent of willpower, and the willpower did go up by 0.5. Small little buff over there. Then we have Earthbreakers. So this is actually what matters here. It took a while to get to it, but you get a massive amount of crit. Look at that, 11 crit on the ring. We get Earth attack speed, another great thing. Then we have Landslide projectiles cast twice. That's what you want greater affix. You also get plus landslide. That's great. So Landslide Druid, which was already pretty much one of the best Druid builds in the game, it's going to actually leave some spikes. It's basically the same same for this power. But the thing that's really nice is the ranks to landslide, as well as getting earth attack speed, crit, and like everything is just better here for the most part. Now technically the other one did have just flat attack speed, which is arguably better, but again, it's still pretty much just as good because that's the thing that you're going to use to get damage anyways. But basically this comes down to 25% more damage. Like think of it kind of like PoE. It's 25% chance for another activation of your skill. You get this thing to be greater affix, start masterworking it, and you're looking at a pretty dang good ring. And that's going to be it for the Druid. So I'm curious to know if you guys are playing Druid in Season 5, what do you think is the best build, and what do you plan to start off with? I think for me, myself, if I was to build Druid, Cataclysm is by a long shot a really cool build, but it's super, super hard to build. I would probably recommend trying out Landslide, as I'd probably consider Landslide like an S tier build for Druid with the new buffs. I mean, again, 25% chance for it to activate, and Druid's been getting a lot of buffs towards the end of Season 4. They started getting a lot more extra buffs, but look out for Boulder. It has some potential, but again, they have said, and you can check the previous patches, where they said, okay, they fixed the issue where Boulder would just disappear, and it wasn't working properly. If that actually finally gets fixed, maybe finally we can play it, but I know they're trying to fix it. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, no matter how much damage they add to it, it's just not going to be good. And you have to get this like golden area of how the little boulders register, which is not going to be easy. Anyways, that's going to wrap things up. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you want to be up to date, maybe see some more builds, I'll probably drop the Druid build later for the pet variant, as I think it's very unique, but again, not a chill minion, sit back, let them do the work sort of a build. But anyways, catch you guys in the next one.